Welcome to Shorty's SuperCoach, and today we're going to have a bit of a look at the things you should be looking at when picking your forward line, and a few of the guidelines and numbers we should really be looking at, and a few of my philosophies on picking forward lines in 2016. And it's a pretty simple one, really. We want to jam as many midfielders into that forward line as we can. Our starting forward six is more of an extension of our midfield, really. Mid forwards are quite popular. There's often quite a few from year to year. I know this year we've got the likes of Martin, Dalhouse, Benell, Barlow. I'm sure there's a couple. Montagne's another one. Even Deledio, he's just a pure forward this year, but you know, he's more than likely going to get plenty of midfield time. So we really do want to cram as many of them into our forward line as we possibly can. And it's quite easy to look at the top 6 to 7, 8 forwards from year to year, because more often than not they are decided by that dual position status, because just naturally, more often than not, if a player's getting midfield time, they're going to outscore, say, just a pure forward. So you can really look at those top echelon of forwards this year, and I think the top 10 is relatively clear. A few of those guys I've mentioned. I think Wingard might be up there as well, Zorko potentially, someone like Lance Franklin offers a bit of value down the track too. So I think those mid forwards right up the top end, you got to pay a little bit of money for them, of course, but it's worth it, because when you look at our midfield, you've got 8 midfielders in there. If we can have, say, 12, maybe 13, if you count, say, McVeigh, or you get a steal in the back line that's a midfielder as well, it's quite simple. Midfielders score the most. You want to get as many of them in your starting 22 as you possibly can. So I think the mid forward is where it generates the most, so you want to get plenty of them. As far as numbers for the forward line, I think the rough guideline's probably 3 figures. If you haven't seen my other videos, I do run through it. Backline's probably your 95-ish, 90 to 95 you're probably content with for the most part. 110 in the midfield, you want to be greedy. I go further than that in the midfield. Rucks is, probably around that 105 mark, I think. And I do feel the forward line is 100 plus. So I think if you get a forward that averages 100, you're pretty happy. I suppose those mid forwards, you probably want 105 plus, but you can accept it, because you get greedy in the midfield. You want big numbers. I mean, would I pick Benell in the midfield? I don't think so. Would I pick Luke Dalhouse in the midfield? I don't think so. But the fact that they're able to be picked in the forward line makes them very valuable, and if they're not in my starting squad, I certainly want to bring them in at some stage throughout the year. So I think about 100 plus is where you really want to be looking at. Certainly if they can tick off 3 figures, they've got to be considered as a top 10 forward line player. So I think that's the sort of structure most people be looking at. Generally we look to start with probably 3 to 4 premiums. I know I've got 4 in there at the moment in my forward line, and there is a little bit of value around that 180 to 260k mark this year. I know you've got the likes of Wells, Simpkin, Menzel, Corey Ellis is in there too. Hayden Crozier is another one who could get more midfield time. So there's a few players floating throughout there that do offer a little bit of value. So there might be that sort of mid-price option at your F5. And then I think the same goes with that mid-forwards, not just for our premium end, but the rookie end too. I know there's quite a lot of rookies that can be swapped there and abouts, and you'd probably like to have a mid-forward in your midfield, and of course your forward line. Just to have that flexibility from mid to forward is always helpful, and you never know when it can come in handy. So if you can do that, definitely try and get that sort of flexibility happening, because that's really what the dual position is about. So I think certainly cram as many midfielders into that forward line as we can, and that's always the goal, I think. So keep it pretty simple. The forward line really is just an extension of our midfield, and that's exactly how we want to keep it. So there are exceptions to the rules as far as key forwards. In the past it's been Jonathan Brown, Nick Rewalt, and Lance Franklin is probably an exception to the rule as well. But for the most part, let's get midfielders into that forward line, and that's going to get us the job done, no doubt. So have a look at all my other videos. I've had a look at every other position as well. Have a look at SuperCoach HQ. That's the other website that I do a bit for, and a lot of these videos will not only be on my YouTube, but on the website there as well, on the Facebook page. So give that a like. Give my channel a subscribe, of course. Give this video a like. If you got any feedback on not only this video, but how the channel's coming along, certainly let me know. I always get around to answering them if you've got any questions and things like that. So definitely give me your thoughts there, and even if you've got some ideas of your own that you think could be worthwhile for the channel, things from in the season, maybe a week to week sort of podcast on what people want. I've got a few ideas, but it's always good to hear what the actual people who are listening are wanting to listen to. So definitely subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back shortly.